Bella Swan is often called a Mary Sue. But is she? Well, we're here to find that out today. I've already went over all the Twilight movies in my last video, so I would recommend checking that out, just to catch yourself up to speed. I've gone over Mary Sues lots of times on this channel, and I thought I was done. But then I found out that no one has made a video about Bella Swan being a Mary Sue. Sure, lots of people have called her one, but being the Mary Sue expert I am, I will be looking into her to see if she is one, and how Mary Sue-ish she actually is compared to, well, other Mary Sues. If you've seen my What is a Mary Sue video, then you should already know my different classifications of what a Mary Sue is and the different types of Mary Sues that are out there. Firstly, about 90% of Mary Sues are the main character. Now that does not mean all main characters are Mary Sues, but most Mary Sues are the main character. Bella Swan is for sure the main character in Twilight, but that doesn't make her a Mary Sue. It just means she's more likely to be one than if she, well, wasn't the main character. So, is Bella Swan really powerful? Well, no, not until the last movie. Yes, she is immune to vampires' unique abilities with no reason given, but by that logic, any character ever with a superpower would also be a Mary Sue. Most vampires and wolves could one-shot her, and she needs to be protected all the time. Yes, when she's a vampire, she's stronger than Edward, but all newborns are stronger than most vampires for the first year, because the rules of the Twilight universe are stupid. When she becomes a vampire, she can now create shields, making others immune to vampires' unique abilities. Now, a block everything shield does seem like a bit of a Mary Sue power, but keep in mind, it only works on vampires' unique abilities, and most of those abilities aren't really useful for combat. When you compare Bella to people like Rey from Star Wars, Captain Marvel, and Mulan, she doesn't really seem all that powerful. Okay, maybe she can kick Mulan's ass, but you gotta compare Sues to their verse, not to other universes. But, is Bella a jerk Sue? This is a character who does bad things and everyone will defend them on it. Bella for sure has to be a jerk Sue, right?
Yes, but actually no.
Yes, she does stupid things all the time, but she's not really an asshole to people that much. Yes, she's a bit of a bitch to her dad and ignores her friends after Edward breaks up with her, but when you compare her to someone like Amber from Invincible, someone who broke up with Mark just because he kept a secret from her for her own safety, and then all of Mark's friends joined her side, or Tila from Masters of the Universe who blew up at He-Man's parents after their son just died because he died without telling her he was He-Man, then got pissed with He-Man in the afterlife for sacrificing himself to save the universe. Bella doesn't seem so bad now, does she? Is Bella a villain, Sue?
What are you, stupid?
No, because she's not the villain. So is Bella not a Mary Sue? She's not perfect or even comes close to it, that's for sure, but she does tick off the second biggest Mary Sue box. Everyone loves her to death and will do anything for her. All those who don't are evil. So here's why people call Bella Swan a Mary Sue. Edward loves her for seemingly nothing. And so does his whole family. Well, everyone but Rosalie, who ends up liking her later on. Jacob loves her for seemingly nothing at first, but later on it's revealed that he's really in love with her unborn baby. Yes, that happened. Go watch my Twilight review for more info. Both the vampires and the wolves who have been fighting for years put aside their differences just to protect her. All the vampires who don't like Bella are evil and most of them end up dead. Like the Volturi, Victoria, Laurent, and James. God, that name is still so lame for a villain. I'm just picturing the odd ones out as an evil vampire every time they say his name. Like I said earlier, all of Bella's friends let her back in their group after she blew them off for months. once. Oh, and everyone in the small town she goes to knows her and wants to be her friend. This is why people call Bella Swan a Mary Sue. The whole universe revolves around her. And a lot of Twilight fans project themselves onto Bella because she's a blank slate. After 5 movies, I know nothing about her other than the fact that everyone likes her. Some people used to call Bella Swan the biggest Mary Sue of all time, and well, that really didn't age well. I can think of 5 Mary Sues off the top of my head who outdo Bella in almost every way. Don't get me wrong, Twilight is one of the worst series I have ever seen, but I don't see Bella as that much of a Mary Sue. Maybe it's because of all the other Mary Sues that have come out in the last 10 years. So I know I haven't uploaded anything in some time, but I am working on a big video. One of my editors got sick and the other one had to deal with school stuff. So I thought I would make this video to give you guys something as I finished it up. Also, my Twilight video didn't do as close to as well as I thought it would. And because my Mary Sue videos almost always do good, I thought this would maybe give it a little bit of a boost. Now I know I said in my How to Fix a Mary Sue video that would be my last Mary Sue video, but it didn't do so hot, maybe because it's under 10 minutes long, or because it had a bad thumbnail or something. So once this video is public, I will be taking it down and just playing it here for you guys. Yes, I'm being cheap by reusing a video, but come on guys, I could really use the money right now.
Give me your fucking money!
Oh golly gee willikers jar, another Mary Sue video? Haven't you done like 50 of these already?
Another one.
Okay guys, I know I've done like 4 Mary Sue videos already. 5 if you considered a video I did on Techno's channel, but I promise this is the last one because I have nothing more to say on the topic after this video. In my first video, I talked about the differences between Gary Stews and Mary Sues. In my second video, I talked about how there's too many Mary Sues nowadays. In the video I did on Techno's channel, I talked about the different types of Mary Sues. In my fourth video, I talked about how way too many Mary Sues are coming out of Disney nowadays.
Whoa, that's a genuinely shocking fact.
And in my last video on this topic, I went over what my definition of a Mary Sue even is. But in this video, I'm going to be talking about how you can make a Mary Sue character that people will actually like. Now I'm going to create my own original OC Mary Sue right here, right now. They are a female. They are perfect in just about every way. All the characters love them. They are one of the most powerful characters in their verse, if not the most powerful. And they sometimes do terrible things that the other characters just seem to ignore. So far, this doesn't seem like such a good character, and it sounds like a lot of people won't like them. But I just have to do 2 things. Well, technically 3, but I can pick between 2 of them, and it will completely fix the character. Number 1, don't make them the main character. And number 2, make them either a villain or a mentor. I already went over this in my last video, but the villain Sue is one of the best Sues. People love a good villain. They don't care how powerful they are, it just gives the hero something to overcome. So if you want to make a Mary Sue character, make sure they're evil and diabolical. You can make them somewhat sympathetic if you want, but it doesn't matter how powerful or perfect you make them, because 99.9% of the time, the villain is supposed to be overcome and defeated by the hero. But even then, sometimes villain Sues can have their own issues to them, like Madara Uchiha. He was just too powerful and too perfect. He went toe-to-toe with the first Hokage, who has big tree muscles. Even characters with just a few of his cells become joning. Madara got his own super form merging with the World Tree, created the Infinite Tsukuyomi to mind control the entire planet, and he just out of nowhere gets defeated by Kaguya because the writer couldn't figure out a way for the heroes to defeat him. So yes, even a villain Sue can be written terribly. But the only Sue that's easier to write than the villain Sue is the mentor Sue. You're probably thinking to yourself, what the fuck does a mentor and a Mary Sue have in common? Believe it or not, it's a lot more than you might think. The main mentors I'll be focusing on are the ones from anime, because I'm trash. Look at characters like Master Roshi, and yes, I know in Z he was by far not even close to being one of the strongest characters in the verse, but in original Dragon Ball when Goku first met him, he was the strongest in the world.
He could blow up a mountain, or the fucking moon, and no other character in original Dragon Ball even came close to doing something that cool. Master Roshi regularly sexually assaults women, along with a whole bunch of old mentor characters. In real life, if an old man sexually assaulted a young girl, he would probably get called out, go to jail, maybe get sued. A lot of bad things could happen. Just like the characters from Invincible ignored the terrible actions of Amber, every anime character ignores that their mentor is sexually assaulting teenage girls. Repeatedly. At least give Jiraiya credit, he mostly went after of-age women, except for that time he had Naruto use his sexy jutsu so he could check out the young body of a 12-year-old girl. You know, now that I'm an adult looking back on this, it's a hell of a lot more creepy than I remember.
It's awful.
And also, Jiraiya is one of the 3 legendary Sannin. He ranks with the 5th Hokage and Orochimaru. But what about old mentor characters who aren't complete pervs? Like Netero or Genkai. They are both strong old mentor characters who are the strongest humans in their verse. And before you say, what about Yusuke? Well, he was part demon, so it doesn't really count.
Whoa there, Mr. Gay Robo-Man. You're gonna talk about Urameshi, but not my boy Kuwabara, when he can split dimensions with his sword? You can suck on my sword!
The only problem I have with these old mentor characters is when the writer refuses to let them die. Genkai died, but then she came back to life, but then she did basically nothing throughout the story, so she might as well have been dead. Now, I haven't seen all of Fairy Tail, but from what I've been told, the old mentor character at the very end uses a spell that would greatly decrease his lifespan. And he was already an old man, so it was guaranteed to kill him, and he somehow survived. But what about old mentor characters outside of anime? Like Gandalf or Dumbledore, also known as Gandalf the Gay. What do all of these mentor characters have in common? Well, they're all really old, that's true, but they're also really powerful and seemingly perfect, so why don't we hate them in the same way we hate other Mary Sue characters? Well, the answer is actually quite simple. You see, the biggest factor to being a Mary Sue is when the universe revolves around them, also being granted a whole bunch of power without working for it. All mentor characters have worked very hard, sometimes harder than any other character in the verse, to get to the power level that they have now. Well, everybody except for Gandalf. Yes, if you actually read the books, you would know that he's not actually an old man, that's just a disguise. Old mentor characters are almost always destined to be surpassed. Now, there are a few mentor characters who never seem to be surpassed, like Mr. Miyagi, but Master Roshi got surpassed, Jiraiya got surpassed, and even Fumbledore got surpassed. That's what keeps villain Sues and old mentor Sues from being actual Mary Sues, because they're destined to be defeated or surpassed. And that's why if you create a Mary Sue character but still want to keep them, make them a mentor or the villain. Can you think of your own way to make a Mary Sue character work? Tell me in the comments section down below. Now, I want to make something very clear. I'm going to be talking about Mary Sues in the future, but I'm not going to be making any more videos specifically focusing on the concept of a Mary Sue. I do plan on making a full video about Rei, or Kirito, or maybe even Korra.
I'm the Avatar. You gotta deal with it.
But no more videos specifically on the concept of being a Mary Sue.
No.
I feel as if though the older and older I get, the less I enjoy things I used to love as a kid. Sure, there are some things I do like about Halo Infinite. The grappling hook was cool, and the story was better than Halo 5's, but that's not saying that much. But there was no split screen, even though we were promised split screen. The progression system was terrible. There was way too many microtransactions. It didn't launch with Forge added, and there's also a whole bunch of other problems with it. Overwatch 2 somehow created a system even worse than loot boxes. Now you have to play and do certain things to actually get what you bought. The game didn't really feel like a sequel, it felt more like a DLC or a patch update. Maybe if they launched it with players versus enemies, you could call it a sequel, but they didn't do that. Overwatch, give me my story mode. I want my story mode. Also, I have to create an account and give a lot of my personal information just to play this game. I'm really nervous that in the future, this is going to become the norm. norm. As for movies and TV shows, oh god, where to start? None of these IPs are being treated with respect. From what happened to Marvel, to Star Wars, to Willow for some reason, to Terminator, to Rings of Power, to Witcher going way downhill. Like, I haven't seen Avatar: The Way of Water yet, but from what I've heard, it literally just repeats the same plot as last time. So combining TV shows with video games sounds like it will be an awful idea. And for the longest time it was. The live-action Super Mario Bros. Movie, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, the Resident Evil movies, and just so many more. Video games are rushed out, but they're live service, so as time goes on, they'll fix a few of the mistakes. CGI has also gone downhill in recent years, but don't worry, they promise they'll fix it later. But surprisingly, video game shows are starting to get really good. Now sure, they're not all bangers, but there's two I really love, Arcane and Cyberpunk Edgerunners. In fact, I think video game adaptations will be the thing that replaces superhero movies. Let's start with Cyberpunk Edgerunners, which ties in as a prequel to Cyberpunk 2077. The game had a pretty awful release, but it slowly started gaining a good reputation. But when the anime released, its sales started to skyrocket again. I think we're gonna start seeing this more and more in the future.
Oh no, your video game sold horribly because you rushed it out? And now you're trying to fix all the problems slowly over time through patches, but your main audience has left? Well, just make a tie-in movie or show to get the audience hyped again. And remember, actually make it good this time.
Cyberpunk Edgerunners was made by one of my favorite anime studios of all time. The same studio that made Gurren Lagann, which is one of my top 5 favorite animes of all time. And they also make Kill la Kill, which is... okay.
I swear you're one cheeky cunt, mate.
Now, people loved the hell out of Cyberpunk Edgerunners. There's so many reviews on YouTube praising the shit out of it. But do I like this show as much as everyone else did? Well, not quite. Whoa, calm down. Don't get me wrong, it's a very great show, but I don't like it as much as everybody else did, mainly because I've let the hype die down and I've seen it twice. First, let me go over what I liked about this show. The animation is phenomenal. Sure, they do reuse backgrounds here and there, and there's the occasional animation error. But then again, this is from the same studio who did Kill la Kill and Gurren Lagann, so what did you expect? They really know how to do extremely detailed and fast fight scenes. And I would say this animation is their best work yet. And before you say that things that come out in the future are gonna look better than things in the past, Kill la Kill, in my opinion, was a downgrade from Gurren Lagann. The music is great, the characters are great. Well, everyone except for Kiwi. She was kind of just a clone of the main love interest. And I also didn't like the music as much as I liked the music in Gurren Lagann and Kill la Kill. Okay, there are plenty of reviews of this show out there that go over its strengths. But I think this show is getting praised so much because we've had so much trash recently. It's kind of like having blueberry pancakes with maple syrup after you've had nothing but buttered toast for the last month. This show is blueberry pancakes, and modern Star Wars and Marvel is buttered toast. The plot of the show isn't bad by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not really anything spectacular. And yes, I do like the characters, I just wish we got to spend a little bit more time with them. And I think this show's biggest disadvantage is it only had one season. Kill la Kill and Gurren Lagann had 2. And also this show didn't exactly have free range to do what it wanted to, because it was a prequel. But at the same time, I think it gives this show its biggest strength. There's a lot of character death in this. It would be easier to list the amount of characters who don't die than do. Now, character death in shows is a controversial topic. Some people really don't like it, and often it does really damage the writing of a series. There's a character you come to love, and now he's gone forever. Or he comes back to life in some stupid way. While I don't think character death should be the norm, it's so rare that whenever it does happen, it's a breath of fresh air to me. Now let's talk about Rebecca. Just like with Ryuko and Yoko, this studio really knows how to make characters that everyone simps over.
Okay, it's worth it.
They already did the hot girl with a sniper rifle, who by the way is actually 14. They did another hot girl who's a tomboy. But what's different about Rebecca compared to the last 2? Yeah, she's another hot girl who uses guns, but what else is there? Well, to get people to simp for her, they made her into a simp. She's absolutely infatuated with David, and I think the moment when people fell in love with their character is when she said, "Hey, I ain't good at playing just friends." Now it's time to point out the elephant in the room. Is Rebecca a lolly?
Cunny love is cunny life. One day I hope for a cunny wife.
You sick fuck. Not everything has to be so goddamn horny with you.
You need to cool it. She's short, flat-chested, very petite, but she got a nice ass and a few tattoos. Canonically, she isn't underage, but Ryuko and Yoko are. And they look a little bit more developed than she does. Now don't get me wrong, grown women can look like kids. I know a girl who's older than me who looks like she's in fucking middle school. I'm not going to share what my opinion is because no matter what it is, I'm going to be taken out of context and people are going to try to make me look like a pedo. But it is funny seeing the discourse around this with people saying, "No, she isn't a lolly! She's canonically not underaged!" And other people just saying back to them, "Ah yes, the 3,000-year-old vampire argument." But the studio did say the lolly must stay. Other people said this was just a joke. The point is, about half of the discussion around this show is Rebecca a lolly or not? And I just find that to be hilarious.
Rebecca-chan. You're so cute, but alas, I cannot fap to you, because masturbating to underage anime characters is
haram. Now let's move on to Arcane. I liked Arcane a lot more than Cyberpunk Edge Runners, but it does have one noticeable flaw. The first 2 episodes are pretty generic. It's a generic cyberpunk, steampunk world, complete with zeppelins. The plot kind of feels generic and slow at the start, and the animation, I didn't like it at first. But then something happened in episode 3. I don't want to spoil it, but it was just as big of an oh shit moment as the ending to episode 1 of Invincible. There is a time skip, and technology and magic work together as one, greatly advancing their society. However, as any scientist knows, technology is not only our greatest savior, but it's also our ultimate doom. Sure, advancing technology will help the wealth of a nation, giving them better tools, improving automation, opening up new trade routes, and other things like that. However, these things can be used as weapons of war, used by the police against citizens, and also used by terrorists to send out their message. Sure, a plane is great for transportation, but what if someone uses it to ram into a building? Bombs are great for excavation, but what happens when militaries start using it as a weapon? What happens if a terrorist gets their hands on a nuke? Sure, nuclear fusion and fission has produced more energy than any method we have at our disposal, but it's something that could also end all life on the planet. Arcane takes this concept and runs with it. It's a question that very few shows tackle, and even fewer shows do right. It does it right because we get multiple different perspectives about it. It's not trying to say we should just be cautious about this or just keep advancing it and let things work themselves out. Heimerdinger is hundreds of years old, and he's seen the damage that magic can do to the world. There's another guy who was born with a bad leg, and he has a disease that's slowly killing him. He can't wait. He needs the technology to save him now. And the scientist who came up with the idea to combine magic with technology is torn between what to do. He doesn't know what the future will hold. Should he slow down on advancing technology, be more cautious and make sure it doesn't go wrong? Or should he be more risky, saving more people in the long run, but at the same time risking the lives of several people? Just like in real life, there's a lot of questions and theories about this, and no one truly knows the right answer. Those who claim to do are just arrogant. And I also love how the show handles politics and the differences between the rich and the poor. Most shows, especially the ones coming out nowadays, think they have a simple solution to wealth disparity. No, you can't perfectly liquidize the wealth of the richest man in the world and make everybody else a millionaire. Taking the net worth of every single billionaire will only pay for the government for less than a year. There's this scene in Harley Quinn Season 3 where Joker becomes mayor, and he has a plan for free college in Gotham City by increasing the property tax of evil lairs by 0.5%. Increasing the property tax by 0.5% for everyone, not just the rich, would not pay for fucking college. Also, the mayor doesn't have that kind of power, but I want to go over to Harley Quinn's show in a different video. The point I'm trying to make is this show shows what the poor have to go through and the conditions they live in, the ignorance that some rich people have about them, and how different people and factions want to deal with this situation. Some people in the upper city want to increase the police force and crush the poor undercity underneath their boot. or just increase the security at their border. As for the Undercity, some of them don't care. Some of them turn to drugs. Some of them turn to theft. Others create terrorist groups. There are those who are trying to find a peaceful solution, but unfortunately political corruption is rampant, and politicians don't have as much power as, well, we think they do. If you try to change too much, you can get kicked out of the council, or worse, you could be assassinated. I just kept on expecting Falcon to fly down, point, and say, "You gotta do better, Senator!" There are many great characters in this show, but no one is really the main character. Everybody gets their own time to shine. There's also not really a villain. You can even see where the leader of the terrorist group is coming from. He's been pushed around enough. He's seen too many people suffer, and the upper city is far more at fault than he ever was. The fight scenes are great, the music is great. It goes over trauma and mental illness. I could keep going on more and more about how this show is near perfection, but don't take my word for it. Go check it out for yourself. But what I like most about Cyberpunk Edgerunners and Arcane is it does diversity the right way. Now, a lot of people don't like that I've been going back to talking about identity politics. And I understand where those people are coming from. It can get annoying when people talk about it all the time. But there are two reasons why I've been talking about it. Number one, it's everywhere nowadays. Every time I try to sit down and enjoy a show, it just has to be brought up. And the other reason is because it's making me more money. And before someone makes the stupid argument, well, everything is political, you can't really compare the politics in Papers, Please to Pong. Do you know what else is political? The two shows that I literally just went over. Sorry to go on a rant, but I just hate it when I say, there's just so much politics in media nowadays. And then another guy goes, oh, everything's political and always has been. You're just now noticing it because you're older. Bro, you know what I fucking mean. In Cyberpunk 2077, half of the team is made up of women. The main character is Latino, the leader of the group is black. His cybernetic doctor who gives him his enhancements is West Indian, although I've been told that term is now offensive to some people. I can't keep up with Zoomer culture. And it shows us, not just tells us, the evils of capitalism. But I don't feel like I'm being preached to about it. Like, there's not 5 moments, let alone one, where a character stands up and just starts preaching about how the wealth have so much, and the poor would be off so much better if they just gave up a little bit of their wealth. People are smart, they can figure shit out on their own. You don't have to spell everything out for them. And you could also say that Arcane does this as well. Now granted, a lot of characters do explain their ideology, but every ideology is given its fair shake. There's no strawmanning here. And do you guys remember my video on diversity, the right and wrong ways to do it? Well, there's a black woman on the council, and they didn't need to do this, but they explained that she's from a different land. Oh, so that's why she's in a majority white kingdom. And now we can assume the same thing for the other races of human, and the other species of humanoid things walking around. Now I'm excited to see the kingdom she's from in the future, and what cultures and traditions they hold. This is a hell of a lot better than The Witcher and Rings of Power just sprinkling minorities in there, who stand in the background for the most part. Can't wait for some people to twist this into me wanting segregation, even though I want things to represent reality and show off different cultures, not just a generic European fantasy we keep seeing. Caitlyn, the sniper girl, is a lesbian, but it's inserted naturally. When you look at trailers on YouTube for things like She-Hulk, Woman King, and other things from Hollywood like that, you'll notice they get a lot of dislikes, but for some reason the trailer for Arcane and Cyberpunk Edgerunners don't have that many dislikes at all. Most people don't have a problem with diversity in movies, or if there's a lesbian character, or if the main character is a female who beats up men. As much as people like Dire Gentleman pretend they do. I covered his terrible Arcane takes in this video, go check it out. What people actually hate is overpowered Mary Sue's being preached to, because no one likes being preached to. And this constant using women and minorities as a shield from criticism. Oh yeah, and I almost forgot, being preached to that capitalism is bad from the richest companies in the world. Now there was an era where westerns conquered TV and movies. There was one for vampires, zombies, and for the longest time, it's been superheroes. But I think video game adaptations will be the next big thing. Oh yeah, and I guess Sonic 1 and 2 was also pretty good. Turns out Ellis Mark was right. Them changing Sonic's design really did save the movie. I've been on YouTube for a very long time now. I have made multiple friends and many enemies. I have done many different styles of content. I started as an anti-SJW and made a bunch of anti-BuzzFeed videos. I was an anti-reaction channel. I talked about people like Tyrone Magnus, Blasphemous HD, Jinx, and especially T-Moss Boss. I did power scaling videos, which a lot of people want me to get back to. But the main thing I've been associated with being is a commentator. Out of every different type of content I have made, this one is probably the most exciting and terrifying. Sure, the other type of content I have made can and did get me into trouble a few times, but if you make a bad power scaling video, you might have a few videos made on you, lose a few subs, and get owned in a few debates. But when it comes to commentary content, there's so much alliances being formed, backstabbing, narratives being spun, things that you thought were unimportant events coming back years later, completely affecting the entire community. Sure, there's a lot of different types of content I have dabbled in, but this one out of all of them, for lack of a better word, feels like an anime story arc. Before I even started my Just a Robot channel, I got slandered and bashed by the DeviantArt ranting community. They falsely accused me of a whole bunch of things, including murder somehow. I started over with a new channel, morphed my voice so they wouldn't find me again. Then the Pokemon drama with Doodletones happened. While Doodletones was a slideshow commentator and not a part of the DeviantArt ranting community, these two communities have a lot of overlap, and you would be forgiven if you thought they were the same. If you want a good video breaking down the different commentary/drama groups, Millie Malware did an excellent video about it, so I would highly recommend checking that out. Doodletones would later get into a drama with Icy Hazard, someone who was part of the DeviantArt ranting community, and wronged me in the past. So of course I helped out Doodletones in the drama. And several years later, after I got into a drama with the names Junkie, Doodletones returned a favor and helped me out. Even when I made my first video on Doodletones, I said she was the least bad person I talked about, and now she edits for me from time to time. I would appreciate it if you guys would leave Doodletones alone about the drama me and her had, and you know what, subscribe to her, check out her content, she has improved a lot over these years. Shortly after the Icy Hazard drama, I made a video calling out stories for not being 8 and Pentagrin for being stupid and believing it. Then my old YouTube channel got hacked, which sucks. And then Stories and Pentagrin made up slanderous lies about Spocter, which sucks even more! But after only a few days, Stories and Pentagrin were debunked, and a lot of people took down their videos they made on Spocter and apologized to him. But one person who made an awful apology to Spocter, in fact it wasn't really an apology at all, was Fran. Now during the Doodletones and Icy Hazard drama, one of the people who was on Doodletone's side during all of that was Heaton Mitsuru. In Heaton's video on Fran, she showed some DMs between Junkie and Fran. For some reason, a few people had a problem with this. Junkie made up a lie saying that he shared the DMs between him and Fran with Heaton in confidence, and didn't know that Heaton was going to use them in a video. Because of this, Heaton disappeared from the internet for a few years, but later she would come back and call Junkie out shortly after I did.
You're a fucking idiot.
But while they were gone, the Sonic 93 drama happened. Who is Sonic 93? Well, they're the person who started the DeviantArt ranting community. The community that slandered me. Almost every drama channel who uses an avatar got involved with it. And I collabed with people like Box of Fox and Spockdor. Things were looking up for me, and I decided that this would be the moment when I finally talk about the people who slandered me. I became friends with a group of YouTubers who were slandered by the same group as me, but one of them got involved with the Toby drama, so I decided to defend them. Little did I know this would open up a can of worms. I've told this story multiple times, so I want to keep it short, but if you want more information, check out Cecil McFly's video about it. Prismate Luke, Kai, and Omnia went after Toby. Creepshow Art, who was beloved at the time, was manipulating things behind the scenes just because Toby did a video on her. Eventually this led into the Peaches drama, and that was a whole train wreck. Me and Manga Common were backstabbed by the name's Junkie. When he leaked a script to Omnia that he did not have permission to give, and when confronted by Manga Common, he claimed that Manga Common was blackmailing him. Yeah, you see, when I did my Toby video, Manga Common already had a script that Peaches did one grammar correction on. And she talked Manga Common out of making the video, but I talked him back into doing it. By the way, this was the first time I ever even knew about the existence of Peaches, and holy shit, what a way to start things out. Of course, this was used by Omnia for more evidence of Peaches being a bad friend. And Omnia's video blew the fuck up, which also got me and Manga Common more hate. This false narrative was also spread around by people like Spoctor, despite me and Manga Common trying to clear up the misinfo. Prisonmate Luke would eventually be taken down by me, Harley, and Just Stop. By the way, Prisonmate Luke has my real fucking name in his name, which really freaked me out because my name wasn't public. We were also fighting against Creep Shaward around this time, but she seemed invincible until LolCow, which is like 4chan but for girls, leaked a bunch of her messages and she got canceled so hard that she lost the most percentage of subs out of anyone in YouTube history. Eventually, I called out the names Junkie, and around the same time, Kai was also dealing with his own drama for flagging down one of Akumu's videos. I finally uploaded the video about my past, calling out the group who slandered me, and I uploaded a sequel to it, and for the most part it was pretty good, except for that one moment where I misused the term groomer. And yes, this mistake is on me. I should have done more research, but I want to make it clear I wasn't calling anyone a pedo. I made the ages clear in the video. I got confronted about this by Leo Convoy, who, by the way, was the guy moderating the call between the names Junkie and Manga Common. It's really a small world after all. Eventually, there was a drama around Omnia, who was the last of the 4 to be cancelled. Now, the person who I mislabeled a groomer in my second video about my past, Chaos55T, along with their roommate, created cartoonishly fake screenshots of me trying to get with a 13-year-old girl. So first, they were trying to falsely accuse me of murder, now this shit. I made a video about this, and everything was finally over until someone took my thumbnail, put it in a tweet, and it became super big. And Laka Mocha Laka finally uploaded their video about the group who slandered me and so many others. Despite me not really seeing eye to eye with them on, well, a lot of things, I think it's a very good video and I highly recommend you give it a watch. And finally, there was one more drama arc to end off this saga. The Spoctor drama. Again. But unlike the drama he had with Stories and Pentagrin, the things he was being called out for this time had actual proof behind them. He got called out for a few of the things he said in his Hopeless Peaches video, being way too soft on the names Junkie, tone policing Hiten Mitsuru, and doing a whole bunch of other shit. I think the final straw that broke the camel's back was his DID video and that awful recorded call he had with Peaches and Leo. I just did a video about it, so if you want more information, check that out. So now I guess that makes me the biggest commentary channel who uses an avatar. So I guess that makes me king now, and if you read the title, well, I'm leaving. Why am I leaving? Well, it's for a few reasons. I already had more than enough close calls, not just with everything I went over in this video, but even dramas outside of this big drama chain. Like with my Daft Peanut trilogy, that almost got me into drama with that creepy rating. Luckily, we were able to talk everything out. And my Dire Gentleman video almost got me into drama with another YouTuber who I'd rather not name. Again, luckily we talked things out. Another reason for me leaving is that people trust commentary channels more now than ever. Normally in the drama community, when someone big gets exposed, there's a big power vacuum and some other people fill it up. But after all the dramas I went over, plus the John Swan drama and the Pyrocynical drama, people just don't have the same faith they used to in the commentary community. And I don't really blame them. I've also been finding more success by talking about media, but the main reason as to why I'm leaving is, well, I think all the fun parts are behind me. I got to witness and be part of the most subs lost for a channel in YouTube history. I've seen an entire community fall apart right before my eyes. I got closure on a situation that tormented me. I got to experience an amazing story arc with characters constantly showing back up, such as Doodletones, Hopeless Peaches, Leo Convoy, Hiten Mitsuru, and so many others. But I think this is the high point. I don't think there's going to be anything bigger than this. And if there is something bigger, well, there's already been so many close calls and I've almost lost my audience multiple times. So I think this is the right moment for me to retire. Almost everyone who was a part of this community already left. Fey Ghost, Box of Fox, Holy Majesty, and a whole bunch of other people that I've already mentioned in this video. Not even Ponder uploads drama videos anymore. Are there still some people I want to get back at? Sure, but I rather quit while I'm still ahead. Most YouTubers who talked about drama who moved on to talk about media seem to have found a lot of success. Dumbsville, Just Stop, Manga Common, and so many others. They seem to be really doing good for themselves and are having a lot of fun, and I just want to join them now. I'd rather not stay and be corrupted by drama like so many others have before me. Now, I want to make it clear, I'm still going to be talking about drama every now and then, but instead it's going to be more like what Turkey Tom does, a documentary-style video. The main question I have on my mind with this whole drama saga is what if this person didn't exist, or that person, or what if this person didn't do this? How differently could things have gone? Forget Dragon Ball what if, I want my commentary community what if. I just want to say throughout all of this I had one hell of a blast. But I'm tired now, and this chapter of my life is over. Thank you to all of you who have stuck by my side all the way through this. Nostalgia is something we all like. I'm sure a lot of you miss being a kid, and you want to turn back time to the good old days. But we do forget about a lot of the bad things we had to deal with. Sure, when you were a kid, you didn't think about paying bills or waking up because you need to make money, but those times weren't always better, they were just familiar. You forget the lack of control and money you had when you were a kid. You forgot how slow those movies you used to like were, or how glitchy the games you used to play as a kid were. But at least you have remakes, reboots, and continuations of shows and games you used to like, right? Well, no, because they may have better effects and graphics, but something just seems off about them. I'll go over nostalgic properties that were brought back and I still like. There's Cobra Kai, and that's it! I'll go over why I like it at the end of this video. But for now, let's go over all the nostalgic things that have been ruined for me. Marvel, which isn't even that nostalgic. Star Wars, which is super nostalgic to me. And Halo, just to name a few. Let's start with Marvel. The MCU is something I thought would never be made. A bunch of movies that all took place in the same universe and cross over with one another a lot. As I've already made 2 videos on the MCU very recently. So I'll try to make this brief. The MCU, from the beginning, all the way to Avengers Endgame, seemed to be planned out. And sure, there were some bad movies here and there, but it was unbelievable to me that several movies could all go on for over a decade and still have a satisfying conclusion at the end, only for it to continue with rushed effects, although nothing ever got as bad as the final fight in Black Panther. God, that looks so awful. Thor: Loving Thunder also had several effects issues with it as well, like the awkward floating head boy, along with a whole bunch of other Phase 4 Marvel movies and shows. It doesn't really seem nearly as well planned out, flanderizing several old characters, while also reversing their character development all at once, and replacing them with insufferable characters that almost seem designed for us to hate them. But I could look past all of that if there wasn't such a focus on identity politics. It appears to me that Disney put identity politics above a well-written story. But if you want more info on that, check out my last 2 Marvel videos. Another Disney product that was even closer to my heart than the MCU was Star Wars. Star Wars: A New Hope was the first movie I remember watching when I was a wee little program in my motherboard. It got a prequel trilogy, which I don't think was as bad as others thought it was. But many of the lines along with their delivery in those movies were just cringy. Don't even get me started on the sand line. Not just the men found that line cringy, but the women and children as well. When me and a lot of others heard that Disney bought up the rights to the Star Wars franchise, we thought Disney would do good by the series, especially now that George Lucas wouldn't have a hand in it anymore. Then, everything changed when the directors attacked. We spat on our savior Lucas, and invited the devil Mickey into our homes. What fools we were. The first movie was a bunch of nostalgia bait and entirely ignored any plot, like how the First Order ever came to be, or who the fuck Snoke is. Yes, I know we retroactively got an explanation to where he came from, but you can tell it wasn't planned from the start. After the first movie came out, some of the old fans did enjoy it. One of my friends said to me, "Yeah, I know it was a rip-off of A New Hope, but they needed to make some of the old fans feel comfortable and show them something familiar before they show us something new." The second movie, The Last Jedi, completely split the fan base in 2. Some people thought it was the best Star Wars movie ever, while others thought it was the worst Star Wars movie ever. But one thing's for sure, while the first movie was thematically about nostalgia, the second movie's themes were based on letting the past die. That's because each movie had different different directors, both with their own ideas on where they wanted to take the story. They both had very different vision. One constantly said, "Do you remember this thing? I remember this. Remember that cool character? Oh yes, I remember." The other harped on, "Remember this thing you liked? These characters you love? Well, forget that. I'ma change all of it to be unrecognizable from the property you came to love." Then the third movie came out. It was as if millions of souls screamed out in terror and were silenced. The third movie was yet another nostalgia fest, while also somehow being completely disconnected from anything in the last movie. Oh, and of course, Star Wars is now full of identity politics. Now, let's talk about the last group of Disney-owned properties, the live-action Disney movies. I can sum them all up as, hey, remember those things you saw as a kid and enjoyed them? Well, here's the shittier live-action version, with half the love and none of the emotion. Remember when the only live-action Disney movie was 101 Dalmatians, starring Glenn Close for some reason? I do, and it was fucking weird. Nothing has changed for me. It's still the only good one in my opinion. We got a prequel to that movie that no one asked for one of the most evil people to be brought to film, Cruella de Vil, making her a girl boss when she originally wanted to skin puppies alive for a winter coat was certainly a very odd change. Now, most of the Disney live-action adaptations didn't have too many identity politics at first. They were still not as good as the originals, but here's a little theory I have. Disney was like, "Oh, Goofy, a lot of people don't like our live-action adaptations. What should we do?" "Gosh, Mickey, maybe we should add a bunch of female characters. That way, if anyone doesn't like them, we can just accuse them of sexism." Oh boy, that's a brilliant idea, Goofy! The best example for this would probably be Mulan, a movie brought to us and paid for by the CCP to bring propaganda to the living room screen, filmed only a few yards away from the cam. Remember how good the old one was? How it had a well-written female lead? Well, forget that, because Chi and Chakra and other Eastern bullshit that no one asked for is a part of the Mulan lore now. We also get a female villain who's evil until she isn't, because according to a lot of Disney shows and movies coming out nowadays, women evil until they good, because women never evil. Mulan is not a great warrior because she beats the odds and uses her wit to solve her problems. No, of course not. It's because Mulan got chi, which allows her to cheese her way to the top. I get this is supposed to be like a feminist message, but it basically says, hey women, you can be great as long as you have superpowers. Oh yeah, also, how she unlocks her true power is by taking off her disguise as a man. Why does taking off her disguise give her more power? Because if she's disguised as a man, she's not being true to herself. Wow, their message actually went against the entire premise of the story. I'm amazed. Oh yeah, before I forget, apparently the live-action Little Mermaid is black. The trailer was not received well at all. My reaction to this wasn't, they made a white character black. My reaction was actually, oh, black people, I'm so sorry that you got stuck with the shittier live-action version. So now that I'm done talking about Disney IPs, I will talk about the non-Disney IPs. I didn't go over Cinderella because I haven't seen it, but Braxton, aka Just Stop, did a very great video already covering it, so just go check that out. Link will be down below. It basically says a bunch of the stuff I was already going over in this very video. So the first nostalgic non-Disney IP I will be going over is a great show with good characters, fantastic animation, and beautiful writing. I would nearly call this show absolutely perfect, but it does have one issue. One small issue that keeps it away from perfection. And that imperfection is Amber. Now, I already did a full video on Amber with Miss Anthroponi and my roommate, so if you want more information, go check that out. But I should note that Amber technically isn't the issue. It's more how everyone reacts to what she does that is the real issue. Before someone uses a race card, yes, she was white in the comics, but she acted completely differently. So in the show, Amber blows up at Mark because he kept a secret from her. That secret being that he was a superhero. A secret that not only keeps her safe, but his friends and family as well. Because in case you didn't know, superheroes have a lot of enemies because they hunt down criminals and other bad guys. And criminals are pretty willing to murder if you didn't know. And the more people that know about his secret identity, the more it puts him and everyone he knows at risk. If he couldn't keep a secret from a girlfriend that he only had for a few months, how long would it be for her until she spills the beans to her parents? But I could look past that. I could understand being angry about something like that in the moment. But both of Mark's friends, one of which is a fucking superhero who has a secret identity of her own, both tell Mark that he was a big meanie and he should have spilled the beans to her about him being a superhero. Like if one of Mark's friends sided with her and the other one didn't, and let the audience decide who they wanted to side with, that would have been so much better. Everyone would win. Everyone would be happy. But do you know who's so much worse than Amber? Tila from Masters of the Universe. Say what you will about Amber, but at least it took a few episodes before we started hating her character. Tila is awful from episode fucking 1. And even worse than Amber, if you can imagine that. Of course, the trailers advertised this show to be about He-Man, and Kevin Smith said He-Man does no stepping aside. So does He-Man step aside? No, of course not. He just dies in episode fucking 1. I was absolutely loving the show up to that point. But then after he dies, Tila blows up at He-Man's parents because their son kept a secret from her. Lady, their child just died. Have you ever took into considerations other people's feelings aside from your own? Tila also has a black friend now. Okay, they added a black character in to be more progressive, I guess. So does she have a story arc? Nope. Does she have any cool powers? Nope. She's there for diversity and absolutely nothing else. You know what? Maybe I should just have Professor Dreadlock stand next to me for the rest of this video. He's not going to say anything because I'm recording this while he's at work, but he's there, so no one can criticize me in this video. And by the way, while it's important for people like Invincible to keep their secret identity hidden, it's even more important for He-Man. Because if Skeletor knew that Adam was He-Man, he could tear his throat out before he can say, "By the power of..." Oh, and by the way, in season 2, apparently the king blew up at Adam's mom because she knew his secret identity and he didn't. And she didn't tell her husband. But despite doing exactly what Tila did, he's so sorry for it and apologizes to not only his son after he's brought back to life, but his wife as well. So apparently it's okay for women to do, but not men. There are plenty of other things I could say about Masters of the Universe, but I already went over those in other videos, so just go check those out. You know, I think there's too much negativity in this video, so instead of talking about a nostalgic property that was ruined for me, how about I talk about a nostalgic property that I love more than ever? And that nostalgic property is Cobra Kai. I enjoyed all 3 of the Karate Kid movies. There's only 3. There's not a shitty 4th one that no one cares about. Cobra Kai is a sequel to those movies, with the original actors, focusing on Johnny Lawrence, the bully from the first movie. I was really nervous to watch this show at first because it sounds like a really dumb idea, but now that I just finished the 5th season, I gotta recommend it to more people. The show is funny, action-packed, and the plot will throw you for a loop more than once. And surprisingly, the show has better representation for women and minorities more than all the other shows I just listed. They didn't just race bend Johnny Lawrence and say, "See, he's a black guy, you can relate to him now." Instead, they gave us original characters like Aisha, a plus-size black girl, Eli Moskowitz, aka Hawk, an autistic man, Kyler, who's a reverse stereotype, he's a dumb Asian jock. The main character is Miguel, a Latino guy from Ecuador. And this show got strong female characters like Tori and Sam. Although I don't like Sam that much, but she is getting better. I was going to go over why the diversity in Cobra Kai works when all these other shows just fail at it, but the script just kept on going and going. I want this video to be about nostalgia, not about diversity, so that's going to be a video for next time. So the last group of IPs that I want to talk about that have been ruined for me are not movies, TV shows, or comic books. They are video... They are video games! One of my favorite video games of all time is Fallout New Vegas, and I fell in love with the Fallout series because of it. Fallout 4 did a really good job with the power armor, but everything else just seemed lacking to me. I wasn't too big of a fan of the base building, but I was really looking forward to Fallout 76. And I don't think I need to go over how it was a incredible disappointment. They really should have made Fallout 5 through 75 before they got to it. The last IP I want to talk about for this video is Halo. A video game series that was like an angel from God is now a demon with no halo above its head. Huh? See what I did there? Pretty clever, right? Sure, Halo Infinite sold really well for the first few weeks, but now, no one is playing it. And this is Halo, one of the biggest FPSs of all time! The first 3 Halo games were truly legendary. Halo is to the Xbox what Super Smash Bros. Is to Nintendo consoles. Halo ODST used to be really hated when it came out, but now the fans love it more than ever because they see what they got later on. To be fair, I think Halo ODST should have just been a really expensive DLC and not its own game. Halo Reach wasn't a terrible game, but it wasn't as legendary as the other Halo games. Halo 4 had some of the worst balancing with the weapons out of any game I've ever played ever. But at least they added a lot of new enemies, and it did get normies into the series. And out of all the Halo games, I think it actually told the most coherent story. But then Halo 5 came out, they added in microtransactions, a story that felt made up as it went along. No split screen. Yeah, I know they gave reasons as to why they didn't add it in, but let's be honest here, they were all completely bullshit. But believe it or not, this Halo game was actually the one I played the most. But why is that? Well, it was because of its one saving grace: Firefight. I just love Firefight in Halo 5. It was first introduced in Halo ODST, but for some reason they didn't put it in Halo 4 for whatever reason. But yeah, Halo 5 Firefight was the best firefight in Halo yet. If you haven't played it, I would recommend at least giving it a chance. There's no progression system, no split screen, and they promised a split screen. The CEO literally got up on stage and said because of the backlash that Halo 5 Guardians got for not having split screen, that they would put in split screen in every Halo game moving forward. Sure, they gave us some bullshit reason as to why they didn't have split screen anymore, but guess what? You can still get split screen through glitches. I'm tired of being lied to. Oh, He-Man does no stepping aside, he just dies in episode 1. Oh, Halo Infinite is going to have split screen, but you can only get it through a glitch. The Act Man already did a pretty good video on why he lost faith in Halo, so if you want more information, I would recommend checking that out.
Trying to create a Halo game where the developers have strict control over what you're allowed to play and how much you're able to enjoy the game is, well, it just doesn't work for Halo. It doesn't fit the business model. I feel like most of my feedback has been completely ignored. It just, until the right people at 343 and Microsoft realize and understand that Halo needs to be first and foremost a social party game, then I'd say prepare for another decade of disappointment.
So, why has nostalgia become such a dirty word? Is it because I'm getting older and things are no longer fresh and new to me? That might be part of the reason. But I think the bigger reason is that new people have taken over these IPs I used to love, didn't treat them with respect, inserted their political agenda into them, and used the good faith of fans of these IPs to lie to them and trick them. But hey, at least I got Cobra Kai and From Software games, so there's still some hope, and I'll use that little hope I got to keep fighting the good fight. And by fighting the good fight, I mean keep making videos on nostalgic IPs I used to love because it makes me a lot more money than any other type of video I used to make. But before I end this video off, I just want to say I made a handful of mistakes in my Hulk video, but I addressed them in the pinned comment underneath the video. If you ever have a problem with any of my future videos, or even this one, please read the pinned comment because I address a lot of the complaints people have in the pinned comment. I kind of wish it was mandatory for people to read the pinned comment underneath new videos before they're allowed to comment under it.